All right, good evening, everybody. We're now live.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Gallup City Council regular meeting, Tuesday, July 28th at 6 p.m. in the City Council chambers. And if anybody to provide comments on non-agenda items, please register in person with the city clerk prior to the scheduled start of the meeting. So if anybody wants to comment or anything, make sure you sign in with Al. With that, Al, or registrations may also be submitted by calling 505-863-1254 by email prior to the start of the meeting. With that, Al, we have the roll call.
Counselor Garcia.
Here.
Counselor Yazzie.
Here.
Counselor Piano.
Here.
Counselor Molina.
Here.
Mayor DePauli.
Here. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome the Indigenous Civic Leadership Program. If you guys want to stand up, we'll wave at you. These are our youth in the city and the county in the area that are interested in civic leadership.
That's
And thank you so much. The next item will be comments by the public on non-agenda items.
Mr. Mayor, we have one speaker this evening, Joe Schaller.
Oh, thank you, Joe.
Gallup City Council and Mayor, I'm Joe Schaller, citizen watchdog and a flea market environmentalist for about 50 years. It was nice to meet and greet some of you at the El Moro Center. I enjoyed that. And Gallup is the most government dependent region in the nation. And also the most energy and economically impoverished, with thousands of households off the grid in McKinley County. We rank as the third most shrinking city. We have one of the lowest labor force participation rates. We are last on the economic freedom index. We have major public school issues. We are dysfunctional. And it seems to be in denial at times. It seems we have a lot of opposition from local progressive activists regarding any industry seeking to occupy our new industrial park. Most of these progressive activist NGOs are financed and organized by foreign interests such as China. Now, the latest industry proposal is from Convault Energy, a solar energy manufacturing company. Progressives are infatuated with anything associated with supposedly clean, green, renewable energy. Yet even a solar manufacturing campus is drawing opposition and public backlash. There is no track record, we are told. Yet, since the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022, several solar manufacturing companies have scaled into massive industrial operations. And numerous small towns across the country have prospered from this manufacturing boom. Now, here's an example of a progressive alarmist misinformation that we hear. I'm not sure if that's what drove Terraplex away or what. But with the data center proposal, there was concern of carbon emissions from a natural gas power plant. Now, carbon emissions are black soot particulate matter that creates smog. Sorry, alarmists, natural gas emits zero carbon. Carbon dioxide, a clear odorless gas, which we exhale and which plants survive on, is the actual emission they are referring to. Environmental alarmists consider carbon dioxide to be a toxin, since it is just one of many greenhouse gases. The land footprint of a natural gas power plant is 5 times smaller than a data center. Yet the acreage footprint of a solar farm supplying the data center is a good 50 times larger than the center. So what we have is a great deal of misinformation out there regarding industrial development of all kinds. Much of it, like anti-fracking in 2014, is financed by foreign interests seeking to compete with the US. You need to ask who has credibility and who doesn't. I've been studying and writing about environmentalism and alarmism for 50 years. I have established credibility. And I have offered myself as a resource to our progressive media numerous times. Many other small towns have cashed in big time on the new technologies. You cannot allow the alarmists to control the narrative. And you can't pass up opportunities for industrial development after we've already invested so much in the public-private coalition infrastructure of the Gallup Energy Logistics Park, located 5 miles northwest of the Gallup city limits. Now, at the meet and greet, I just learned that Terraplex, I didn't even know that Terraplex had backed out. And so now it's the Convault solar manufacturing, which is in play, apparently mostly with Gallup land partners. So,
Joe, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
yeah,
Thanks for
Thank
your
you.
comments.
Thank you.
With that, the next item is going to be the presentation and information items. And the first item is the annual work program report for fiscal year 2026. And Brandon Howe with the Northwest New Mexico Council of Governments will be our presenter.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Again, my name is Brandon Howe, Deputy Director at the Northwest New Mexico Council of Governments. Appreciate the opportunity to present our annual report. Before I get started, I wanted to introduce our new staff person, Esteban. Come on.
Good evening. I'm the news planner at HOG. I just graduated a few months ago in urban planning community development, School for Environment at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. And I look forward to work for this community and Four Corners region. Thank you.
Welcome.
Great.
Thank you, Esteban.
UMass.
Esteban had a couple of opportunities to present and interact with a couple of counselors. Again, he's eager to support the city and their initiatives. So moving on with the presentation, I think you guys all have this handout in your packets. Again, what we like to do at the Council of Governments is provide 2 presentations a year, kind of a 6-month or 9-month report, and then an annual report. As you guys are all aware, the city of Gallup pays into the Council of Governments a membership due, an annual due, and in return, we provide direct services to the city. The report is structured similarly to years past. Again, what we do is we take a portion of the membership dues, apply a member rate, billing rate, and then we in turn budget a select number of hours dedicated to the city of Gallup. On the report, you'll see that there are unused hours. That's direct billing to City of Gallup member fund code. However, there's a little red box on that right-hand side. The City of Gallup was supported by NMDOT funding, US EDA funding, DFA funding, and then New Mexico Economic Development Department, Alpha Rec Division funding. So We have a bunch of other sources at the Council of Governments and we kind of try to tap into those sources first. The other thing is we've, again, been a little short-staffed, and so some of us have been filling those funds first before we go over the city funds. And so in transparency, there's the kind of the member rate funds, and then also an additional 244 hours dedicated to Gallup projects. Some of those things include TPF applications, Safe Streets for All, funding for roads, the Trade Port Initiative, Land and Water Conservation Fund, Trails Plus programs like that. So moving on.
Can I stop you, Brennan? I apologize. I don't think the mic is working properly. It feels very quiet. Is it working?
Testing.
Closer to you. Let's see what that-
Thank you. Better?
Closer.
Yeah.
Yes, I just feel like
Okay.
maybe people couldn't
Sorry.
hear as well. Thank you.
So moving on to the highlights, we like to categorize our highlights into planning, programs, and projects. For our planning highlights, the COG was able to help the city secure $108,000 of free technical assistance from the New Mexico Department of Transportation to conduct the comprehensive safety action plan. That safety action plan is what we'll use to apply for safety improvements in the city of Gallup. We have already utilized that plan to apply for Safe Streets for All funding for safety improvements on 66 to help the DOT finish their design of phases C and D, and also to support the construction of safety enhancements at the 2nd and 3rd Street Rail Crossing project. The interchange planning, I know Wilson and Company and BHI have been presenting to the city on some of the interchange planning. Again, we have the east and west interchanges. Preliminary planning work is what we were targeting. The program was set up through the legislature. There was an opportunity to secure funding. I think the Northwest region, McKinley County and Cibola County secured about 90% of that funding from the legislative special appropriation. And so we thought it would be best to kind of take a look at some preliminary improvements to potentially large scale interstate projects in the city. Moving on, we had updated our comprehensive economic development strategy plan for the Northwest region that includes San Juan and Cibola counties as well. So that plan establishes our kind of moonshot goal for the region in terms of economic development. We heard a little bit about some potential projects in the region, and all those kind of feed into the economic development strategy of the Northwest New Mexico Council of Governments. Program highlights: early in fiscal year 26, the COG continued to support the Gallup Main Street program as an ex officio of the board, providing technical assistance to the director, to the board, helping them through things like the Main Street Capital Outlay Program, helping them identify potential projects for investment in the downtown district. Additionally, the Council of Governments was asked to support the McKinley County Trade Port, Gallup McKinley County Trade Port Partnership Group to serve on the technical committee. The Council of Governments also kind of took the lead on the designation application, which includes sites like the Gallup Airport, the Carbon Coal Development Zone, and additional zones throughout the county. Additionally, Evan kind of remains involved in the affordable housing realm. I know the city is starting to build up their housing program internally. So the Council of Governments has been kind of closely monitoring that and trying to make the connections and connect the dots to state programs, funding opportunities, and affordable housing programs set up within the city and within the county. Next, we have our projecteering highlights. Again, the Council of Governments supports the city during the legislative season. This past year, we held the legislative forum. In addition to that, we've met with management to identify priority projects for the legislative session, develop the capital outlay requests, get those submitted, produce materials, and then work closely with Charlie Marquez, who was the city is the city lobbyist at that. And so we supported the legislative front on that end. The Railroad Crossing Elimination Program, it's an ongoing program. The county had submitted an application to study preliminarily potential improvements to eliminate at-grade crossings. One of those sites is within the city of Gallup, and that's the Mentmore Crossing. So we're looking at alternatives to improve safety, to reduce conflict between the vehicles, pedestrians, and the train. And so we're identifying preliminary alternatives now that we could use for future project progression. Transportation funding is an annual program set up by the New Mexico DOT through the state legislature. The city has been pretty successful in securing funding. In fiscal year 26, Gallup was awarded $2.6 million for West Aztec Avenue drainage project, and also an additional $617,000 for the Hassel Valley Road rehab project. We also supported the application process for next fiscal year. And again, we're targeting Mentmore Road design, and then also Mariana Avenue reconstruction project. Another annual activity for the Council of Governments is a collaborative effort on the Water Trust Board projects. The city was mightily successful this year with help from the mayor, Kurt Spoler from DES, a collaborative effort to help secure roughly $21 million from Water Trust Board. Again, 16 million of that is for the water treatment plant, and then we have a couple smaller awards for water and wastewater line replacement. Matter of fact, right now there's a call for design projects, and so we'll try to huddle up within the next week or so to identify our next round of design projects to ready those projects for future construction requests. The Council of Governments also supports Josh Bitzili and Vince on the annual YCC program application. Again, the recurring program, the city has been continuously successful with that program. Last year, they were awarded $218,000, which is the largest award in city history. So it keeps going and going and going. And so Josh and Vince have built that program pretty well. It's mightily successful. And we look forward to continue to support Josh and YCC efforts. Capital Development Program Fund was a new program set up by the legislature last year. The program was announced this year. We work closely with Keegan on identifying projects that meet the program requirements. The city was successful in securing funding for the wastewater treatment plant in the amount of $1 million, and to complete the Cole Avenue Alley behind City Hall. This program is really set up for gap funding type of projects, so finishing projects off. They had really strict requirements, so it didn't allow us to pick any project. We found the projects that met the requirement, and we were successful. A new program that the Council of Governments has kind of tapped into for the city, not a new program for the city historically. Many of the city parks are funded through Land and Water Conservation Fund. We were introduced to that program again through John Decker's work at the Council of Governments, and we were able to successfully secure $1 million for the replacement of playground equipment at the Playground of Dreams. So that'll come in hopefully later in the spring, and it's a program that we can continuously tap into. And additionally to this program, we were successful in securing $500,000 from the DFA Match Fund program. So 500 from the DFA Match Fund, 500 from the Land and Water to get us $1 million in new park equipment. The next section is really regional initiatives. Again, the Council of Governments is a regional organization. We continue to work through the U.S. Economic Development Administration on economic development projects. We have also been asked to serve as the lead entity, the accountable entity for the Regional Behavioral Health Program. The plan is written. The plan is scheduled to be reviewed in the next month or so. Again, we have applied for and were awarded early access funding in the amount of $2 million. We have preliminary targets for regional behavioral health programs in the city. We're working closely with Frank on getting those applications secured and the funding secured. The next thing, I'll skip a few items, but is the Water Planning and Development Program. Angelina Gray has been working closely with the small water systems surrounding the city of Gallup. The intent of that is to get those entities up and in compliance so that they can receive money, build out their systems, and try to identify a path for long-term water supply. Some of that could be connection to the Gallup regional system. Some of that could be individual water systems maintaining autonomous water supply control. But we have worked closely with that group there. We have also supported the regionalization effort of Comerco and Yatehe. to combine groups and start sharing resources and services to create a better economies of scale for small water systems in the county. Outdoor recreation, again, John Decker is kind of taking the lead on that program for us. The big highlight here is we had our kickoff meeting today for our regional outdoor recreation master plan covering McKinley and Cibola counties. So there's already been a lot of planning and a lot of projects have already been identified through other planning efforts. So what we're trying to do is get everything into one plan for both counties. And we also have asked for funding to support a regional outdoor rec coordinator to implement the projects that will get identified in the plan. And so we kind of are establishing an internal model that could potentially be replicated throughout the state at other council of governments. Lastly, we supported the conservation side again through John Decker. He's worked closely with the McKinley Soil and Water Conservation District, has helped them secure a number of grants, has helped with the strategic planning process, and is continuing to support their group to implement their priority projects. Lastly, the return on investment for the region. Again, we do a regional report. As I mentioned, I think at the last council meeting, our annual return on investment for the region, this is all of our members combined, was $80,782,000 and some change. Specifically for the city of Gallup, we are about $29 million. Again, Water Trust Board, transportation, parks, YCC programming, capital outlay, legislative, that type of work. And so with that, I can stand for any questions.
Brandon, thank you so much. You know, it's wonderful what Northwest New Mexico Council of Governments does for us. You know, I had a question about one item. Is Keegan here too? Yeah. Can you just the Cole Avenue between First and Second Street?
Yes.
Is that money going to be available for it to go to bid on the project? Or whatever happened with the Cole Avenue?
You know, I think we've been in limbo on that, but yes. Oh, you know what, the issue is we don't have a grant agreement yet.
Okay.
I think that's the issue.
Who's that?
Surfacing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was DFA
Yeah,
money.
you know what, we kind of went back and forth about thinking that we got it, didn't really see anything, it showed up in the FAR system, we don't have a grant agreement yet. So
Yep.
that's the issue on that one.
But you know, when you have the rains like this, you always wonder what happened to those drainage projects, you know? So anyway,
Yeah.
we'll check in
So
on it.
this is so.
Yeah.
Just a long process before we actually get the grant agreement, then you have to bring it to council and then just like this.
Okay, thank you. Sierra, Parsons. Sierra, do you have any questions?
Sarah,
I think go.
go ahead.
I was looking at Sierra and said Sierra.
Thank you, Brandon. Yeah, I've had the joy of participating in some of the SB3 meetings and feedback sessions. And given that housing was one of the main priorities identified by our region for behavioral health needs, is that going to connect at all to the work already being done on affordable housing and the projects that the city is, there's not a lot of detail under that section, but are there any things that can kind of come together?
Yeah.
From some of these different areas to address that?
Absolutely. So, you know, there are a number of priorities identified in that behavioral health plan. And housing is one that sticks out to the Council of Governments. That's something that we might be able to do, right? So the Council of Governments, we're not experts in behavioral health by any means, but we can support the housing initiatives that come out of that plan. And so one of the things that Evan Williams, our executive director, is thinking about is keeping that housing component within the regional behavioral health and implementation plan within the COG, so we can help support build out of some of the structures. Again, one of the things with the city's internal affordable housing program is it's still getting built up. Programs are still getting set up. The trust fund is set up, but we still don't have a real mechanism to kind of deploy some funds. The city has a housing study, and the Council of Governments is also wrapping up the McKinley County Affordable Housing Plan. And so we're setting up the frameworks to build programs. Now we just need to huddle up and structure the programs and figure out a mechanism to attract the money and distribute the money for housing. The other thing is we also have some legislative funding from the city that we're looking at targeting some potential preliminary planning for a couple of housing opportunities. Keegan's working on that through in her department. But that's probably gonna be another program that is kind of gonna be pushed again in future legislative sessions. They pumped a lot of money into housing. I know the Workforce Solutions Program has a ton of money for housing. It's just a matter of establishing the internal programs to get that money out to the people, to build homes, to renovate homes, to plan homes and whatnot. So we're hoping that we can continue to support the housing initiatives inside the regional behavioral health plan.
So, thank you.
Mayor, I have a quick question. Yeah, thank you so much, Brenda. You guys have done a considerable amount of work. I was just wondering if there was any specific project that you feel like was, I know a lot of them might have been new, but was new to, 'cause some are continual, some are new. So I mean, that were specifically kind of new. And then also on the paper, it says that you guys have remaining 172 hours. So I was just confused, is that
That's
for
that.
this fiscal? I don't understand where that falls.
Yeah, so again, the way the Council of Governments is structured is we have a number of fund codes that we bill to. And again, we have, we lost a planner, Aaron Hill, and then we lost a RTPO program manager in Maria. And so what had happened was I had to fill kind of the transportation role and Aaron's role as well. And so we're targeting though is we got specific one-time grants for some of these initiatives. And what we wanted to do is draw every single penny down prior to hitting the member funds. And so that remaining balance, again, is just a matter of being transparent with the city. This is kind of what you paid for. But again, there are 244 hours of time dedicated to the city for city initiatives that weren't billed directly to the member. They were just billed to a federal or state program and, but services were provided.
Okay. Oh, that makes sense. So it's still, you kind of still did the hour. I mean, you still got us the funding, but the hours were kind of like reallocated
Mhm.
depending on the project.
Yep.
Okay.
And then the other part of your question was if there was a specific project that stood out. I mean, the Playground of Dreams has been something that Vincent and I have been talking about for a number of years. We've been trying to figure out a way to get the playground equipment replaced. And so one of the things with the program that we tapped into is there's an opportunity to continue to build the playground and build it out a little more than what it is now. The unfortunate thing is playground equipment is pretty expensive. So we're doing the best that we can with the money that we were awarded. We can go back to the same pot of funds for the same location for more enhancements to the park. But again, we're looking at a number of alternative quality of life projects in the city. We're looking at turf replacement projects. We're looking at sports complex projects. There's a number of different things that we could do that we just need to coordinate with the management team. And Frisbee golf is another one that we're going to be approaching in the next couple of months. So yeah, obviously there's critical infrastructure projects and then there's quality of life projects, and we feel like we have to do both, obviously, to support the city. And so we appreciate the opportunity to work on both. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you.
So Brandon, on that Playground of Dreams, do we go to our representatives and senators to ask also to come and help us to maybe get this Playground of Dreams up to code?
We haven't specifically made any large requests. I know Representative Wanda Johnson had supported capital outlay projects in the past, but we haven't made a real big push for Playground of Dreams. But we were identifying this program for that specific use. But it doesn't mean that we can't go make that request in the future. Again, there's still a lot of potential enhancements that can be made at the park. And so I wouldn't shut the door on Playground of Dreams for the future, but we have received some funding from legislators for Playground of Dreams in the past.
Okay, Ron, any?
No, I just want to make a comment. Thank you for everything you do for the city of Gallup and all the other communities that you guys work for. Pass that on to your guys that work for you.
Will
We
do.
really appreciate all the hard work. How many grant writers do you have?
We have a staff of 8, and I believe 6. All our planners are required to write a grant, know how to write a grant, or we throw them in the deep end. Stevan wrote one on his first week. So everyone on our planning team is capable of supporting
Good.
that activity.
Tell them to get to work.
Will.
Thank you.
Thank you. One last note, Mr. Mayor, the Council of Governments is hosting our annual luncheon in Farmington at McGee Park on August 19th. You guys are all welcome to join. Again, it's our one day where we kind of celebrate the COG. And so appreciate it if you guys would attend. Thank you.
What date was that?
August 19th. Farmington.
Farmington.
Brandon, thank you so much for all the wonderful news. Excuse me, our next item is a presentation of a water rate study prepared by Financial Consulting Solutions. And our presenter is going to be John Giladucci. Did I say that right, John? Yes. And he's with Financial Consulting Solutions. They've been working on this for a couple of years, going back and forth. And with him is Satya Ganesan, and Brian Yaz is here also to answer questions. So you can go ahead and start, and then we'll bring Brian up.
Good evening, Mayor.
Satya, get the microphone close to you. There you go.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, City Manager, staff, and members of the public. Thank you for all being here this evening. Before we begin, I'd like to provide a brief background on today's presentation. The City of Gallup's last comprehensive water rate study was completed in 2012. Since then, our community has experienced changes in operating costs, regulatory requirements, maintenance needs, and the overall condition of our water infrastructure. Over the past 14 years, these factors have made it necessary to take a fresh look at our water utilities' financial health and long-term sustainability. This new water rate study is an important planning tool. Its purpose is to ensure that our water utility generates sufficient revenue to continue to provide safe, reliable, and high-quality water service while allowing the city to maintain, repair, and improve our water infrastructure. Investing in our infrastructure today will help us continue serving our residents effectively and reduce the risk of more costly repairs in the future. To assist us with this effort, the city retained FCS, a Bowman Company, a nationally recognized utility financial consulting firm with extensive experience in water and wastewater rate studies. FCS conducted a detailed analysis of the city's water utility, including its revenues, operating expenses, capital improvement needs, and future financial requirements. This evening, Mr. John Giladucci, President and Principal of FCS, will present the study's findings, explain the recommendation, water rate structure, and discuss how those recommendations support the long-term financial stability of the city water system. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. John Giladucci. John, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Satya.
Thank you, Satya. Thank you, Mayor and Council. As a preface, I came to the study, as you mentioned, it's been going on for a few years. I came to the study a little bit late. Our project manager is on maternity leave. So I'm joined by Caleb Hansen, who did the analytical work for us, but we may not have every answer to your questions tonight. We will certainly get back and answer them if those aren't, if we don't have those answers. Got PowerPoint on here. Slide, please. Wait. So the way that we've set this up, I'll talk a little bit about the rate setting process, what we do when we do a rate study, a comprehensive rate study like this one. I'll go through our rate recommendations. We have some bill impacts to show you how these changes would impact different types of customers. And we have some regional information to show you how these impacts would compare in the region. Slide, please. So there are a couple of major landmarks in a rate study. That first one, which we're answering the question, how much? This is it's called the revenue requirement analysis, and what we're doing here is looking at all the financial obligations of the water service and determining a financial plan that will meet those obligations. So this would be a multi-year plan. We're focusing on the 5 years beginning in fiscal year 2027. So that's all the revenue requirement is. It's a series of rate adjustments and a financial plan that's needed to meet all the obligations of the water service. The next step, which is called the cost of service analysis, we're answering the question, who pays? So we look, if the revenue requirement tells us the size of the pie, and that pie and how much money we need from rates. The cost of service analysis tells us how we have to slice the pie based on the different demands of the customer classes in Gallup. Some slices need to get bigger, some slices need to get a little bit smaller among the customer types based on their specific demands and how the city has changed over many years, as Satya mentioned. So that's what the cost of service tells us. And it creates interclass shifts in cost recovery that you'll see. Hopefully you'll understand from the graphics. And then the final piece is the rate design. That's how we actually price the water to individual customers. We're not proposing a change in the rate structure. So different classes will go up and down differently based on our recommendations, but the structure of the rates will remain the same. Our overarching goal in designing rates and in the rate study process itself is to meet all the financial obligations of the water service on a multi-year basis, and then try to accomplish as many of the city's other objectives as possible. And these objectives could include revenue sufficiency, making sure we have enough money. That's obviously a critical. Fairness and equity. Are we imposing the rates in a way that's fair, that's based on how people are demanding water service? Economic efficiency. We don't want to incentivize wasteful use of water. We want to promote careful use of water, efficient use of water. Sustainability and predictability. We want people to understand what their water costs are going to be on an ongoing basis and be able to plan into the future. We want people clarity. We want people to understand the rate structure. Cost allocation, that gets back to the fairness and equity piece. If the rate structure is successful, people should be paying based on their demands for water services, their specific demands for water services. And then finally, to the extent that we can keep the rates affordable, we're always trying to do this at the least cost to the customer. Slide, please. So moving into the financial plan, the proposed financial plan, projected water revenue requirements. This shows from year to year what the needs are for the water service. Obviously, fiscal year 2026 has already happened. It showed about $8 million in needs. The water service generates about $7 million in rate revenue right now. So the city drew down on fund balance. And part of what you don't see here is, in addition to rates, the financial plan carefully draws down on the fund balance, not going below reasonable minimums, but trying to make use of the money that you already have in the bank to reduce impacts on rates. Slide, please. So this slide shows the rate adjustments that are needed over that period in order to meet the financial obligations of the water service, the rate portion of those financial obligations. So 2027 would be the first year where a rate increase could be adopted. And we're proposing a 12.5% increase for fiscal year 2027, followed by a 10% increase, and then a series of 3 8% increases. you'll see in that middle column on the right, the total cumulative percentage increase over that period. And then the revenue that those increases will generate in addition to the city's existing rate revenue. Slide please, thank you. So if you accept that financial plan and those revenue requirement needs, now we move into the cost of service results. And I'll show you these results two different ways. The first is the table of numbers. And what we're trying to show here, if you focus on the revenue at existing rates column and the cost of service column, those two, if you'll notice at the bottom of those two columns, they both generate $7.67 million in rate revenue. That's the projected revenue requirement for fiscal year 2027. But the left-hand column shows where the revenue would come from under the existing rate structure rates. And I'll point out a couple of important ones. Residential inside customers would generate about 2.1 million under the current rate approach. Commercial inside city would generate just shy of $4.5 million under the existing rate approach. What the cost of service analysis indicated is that residential inside should actually be paying more. So their share should be more like $2.82 million. And commercial inside city rates should be paying less, more like $3.63 million under the cost of service results. And you see many similar shifts among customer classes, none as big as those two. Those are the two largest customer types in the city of Gallup. On the far right, you see on a percentage basis what those rates, those rates per class should do in order to catch up to the cost of service analysis. You see residential inside should go up 34%, commercial down 19%, and you see similar ups and downs throughout. If the city were to move immediately to a cost of service based rate structure, in addition to that 12.5% increase, you'd see major swings and rate shock among these customer classes. So what I'll show you in a minute is a phasing schedule that would move toward cost of service over 5 years to try and minimize the rate shock if the city decides to go forward with that cost of service.
A question, Mayor. So I mean, I have two questions on this slide. So Navajo tribe inside, Navajo tribe outside, what is that referring to? That's the large percentage. Is that outside the city? Because I mean, is that?
I believe so. I believe that's inside city and outside city. But
How do we
Navajo-
control what the outside of the city charges?
I don't think you control in that case either one.
Oh, if they use our water, if they're using our city water.
Yes, but their water is priced by contract, so the city doesn't actually have the flexibility
To do this.
to do those changes independently.
So
So
this,
we're showing it as information.
Excuse me, do you have an example of that, Frank?
I can help you with that.
Yeah, how that would
And Larry Wentz here too. So the city of Gallup has an exchange contract with NTUA. And what that contract says is up to 500 acre feet of water a year or annually could be traded or exchanged between the Navajo Nation and the city of Gallup. And the price was set at like $3 per thousand. So and correct me if I'm wrong, Jackie, but I think so NTUA has 3 connections right now. Most of them are in Boardman, and we're charging that rate that was agreed to in 2011
How long
So
is
that-
the contract for?
forever. But remember, but the Navajo Gallup water was supposed to be here in December of 2024. And then that contract would have expired then. Because it was basically a groundwater supplemental agreement. The city would provide groundwater And then in exchange, we would get surface water at the same price up to the amount that we gave them for groundwater.
Gotcha.
So I was being a little sarcastic, sorry. It's not gonna be forever. It's gonna be when the
Thought you were being
Navajo Gallup surface water gets here.
You scared me.
That's what's going on with those waters.
We could renegotiate potentially this contract to a higher rate. So it's not per individual, it's more with an entity essentially.
It's an entity, yes.
Okay, and then so that's my same question with Tanner inside, Tanner outside. That's an entity that we're having a contract with that we feel that we would want to increase the contract rate.
So
Am I
This-
getting that right?
this actually shows that you're getting a
Oh, we're doing that
fair
better.
rate on.
We should have reduced their rate in that case.
Yeah.
I see.
on
Okay.
Tanner Green.
Where is that? Yeah, I don't know what that is.
TNR Market out on
Oh,
491.
Do we have any other contracts?
Yes, we have other contracts that are in place with places that haven't developed, but they were years old. And we have settlement agreements also with like Amerco and Yatahay and other ones that we're supposed to provide water for.
Very good. Thank you.
But there's such a minimum percentage, of the amount of water. It doesn't add up to much.
I mean, these are pretty off numbers, right? Because we're saying technically if we evened out, we'd want negative 18.8 for one and positive 312.9% for another. And it's all kind of relative. I mean, this is a study, I understand, but it's all kind of relative because we could bring that to them and they could say, yeah, we're not going to do that.
Now, this isn't the cost of water, correct?
Sorry,
This isn't the cost of water we're looking at?
it is.
It's the cost of.
The actual
will
water?
Result in the price of water in the rate.
It is the price of water.
Yeah, and. Your
Because it
point
says
well taken,
cost
but-
of service.
So this shows how the rates for each of these classes should be changed if you were to be immediately consistent with the cost of service analysis. So, but you don't have to do that immediately. You can choose to do that over a period of years. You can choose to ignore those results and move forward as you are. This is, it's actually not that unusual. If the last cost of service analysis was done 14 years ago, customer base has changed, the water demands have changed. And so things get a little, they get in need of adjustment. And then you've got, the contract rates that you really have no control over. So it's, not too surprising, actually.
Very good.
Next slide, please. So another way to look at this, the cost of service analysis shows where the revenue's coming from under current rates for that same $7.67 million revenue target for FY 2027, and then what the cost of service analysis shows on the right. So you see the big, this I like because it shows the relative size of the largest largest customer classes, residential and commercial, but it shows that residential's slice of the pie should go up and commercial's slice of the pie should go down.
Commercial people will like that.
Slide, please. So I mentioned that what it would do to go immediately to a cost of service result like that would cause significant rate shock for individual customer types. So what we're proposing here is a phasing schedule in which we don't reduce any of the rates, but we significantly reduce the percentage increases for those types that need to go down. So residential and classes tied to residential would go up at 15% per year for the study period to try and correct that underpayment. Commercial would go up much less. City water, unfortunately, would go up significantly in the first couple of years. Then you see sub-metered and irrigation rates as well. These adjustments would be equivalent to the system-wide increases you see in that lower right corner, which were the recommended increases for the financial plan for that revenue requirement.
Yeah, John, too, it's probably good to point out to the council having been involved with this for years. You know, the city of Gallup, our rates were based on projected water demands. And like all other cities, we implemented conservation, and instead of selling 3.5 million gallons of water per day like we should be at $1 a gallon, we're only selling 2.5. So, you know, when we projected this years ago, we're down $1 million because we're not selling the water we thought we'd be selling. So there's always that gap. And my question, and to make sure with this, did you guys implement a increase in the water demand, or did you just leave it flat
We left it relatively flat
Good.
for exactly
Okay.
that reason.
for that
We're
reason?
seeing that all over the country.
Yeah.
It's amazing where you'll see population go up and water demand stay
Same thing,
flat.
yeah.
So,
And when you're basing your
Well,
charges on the
conservation.
gallons, you know, it,
Yeah.
so, all right, thank you. That's good
Thanks.
news. That's,
One more question. Explain what city water is compared to commercial. Commercial and residential is pretty self-explanatory.
the city water is water purchased for parks, irrigation of.
For the city use.
property. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Slide, please. So just in case you haven't seen enough about the impacts on different customer types, this takes a little bit of explaining, I know, but if you start at that the top two lines, residential inside city, the dark blue shows how far off from cost of service that customer type is right now, so almost 672,000. And then in gray right below it, how close it will be to cost of service in 2031 at the end of that phasing. So you're seeing all those blue bars get closer to cost of service as shown by the gray bars. Slide, please. And then here we're showing cumulative impact on those different customer types of the phasing program over that 5-year period. So obviously, residential will about double, as will city water, and the others not as much. So this is what the actual rate schedule would look like if the city were to move forward with, this is the residential rates. Single family residential, that these show the 15% increase recommended for 2027. The fixed rates shown in that table on the left would go for a 5/8 inch meter, which is a typical single family residence, from $11.40 a month to $13.11. And then you see the usage rates on the right, which go up depending on the amount of usage. So from 0 to 500 cubic feet, a little less than 3.5 cents per cubic foot. And then you see that would go up to almost 4 cents per cubic foot, and so on for each of those thresholds, called an inverted block rate structure. The prices go up as the usage goes up.
and point out too that I don't believe we have any residential 2-inch meters. That would all be commercial.
Yeah, good point. Probably not meaning more than 1 inch.
Yeah.
Good point. Slide, please. And this slide shows the impacts of a 9% increase on commercial rates, the volume rates on the left, commercial meter rates in the middle, and then the other classes on the right. City water, that one going up 46%, separate irrigation, and sub-metered by 12.5%. So this one, this looks kind of scary, but I think I can reassure you, it shows what the bills would be for a single family residence at different levels of usage. Luckily, 95% of your single family bills are less than 1,100 cubic feet in a month. And if you look out at 59 CCF, that is 0.05% of the customer base. So very, very few bills going out at that level, but we wanted to give you a sense of the whole spectrum of water bills. As I mentioned, 95% would be at that 11 CCF or less in those sample bills. So at 11 CCF, going up about $9.45 a month. And then, although everybody's needs are different, systems are different, we did want to show you, give you a sense of what's going on in the region. So this is a single family residential bill comparison with the 15% increase applied. That's the Gallup proposed rate. We're assuming a 5/8 inch meter. As I mentioned, that's a typical single family meter size and 550 cubic feet of usage. That's a reasonably average level of usage in a month. So under the existing rates, that bill would be $31.28. Under the proposed rate for 2020 FY 2027, $35.97 per month with the 15% increase. And you see how that compares in the region.
Perhaps this is a ignorant question, but how is the city of Farmington, Las Cruces keeping their water rates down so low as such big cities?
Lots of.
I can help them answer that. They have to drill $6 million wells. They got
Those $6 million wells.
Surface water.
Surface water.
It's from the wells. That would.
Our wells cost.
Our wells cost more.
Much more. So like Farmington, they just get the water out of the Lake Farmington.
Sure.
It's been there for 100 years, and Las Cruces is shallow aquifers. So our wells is what costs runs our price up.
Yeah, because I think people are gonna look at that and go, well, dang, I can move to a larger
Yeah.
city and have my water be way
Yeah.
lower. I mean,
Well, it's, you know, these are all apples and oranges. That's a perfect example of why. And obviously we don't know what their other utility rates are, but yeah.
interesting.
The price of gas is
Their cost of gas is that well. Interesting. Well, we're lower than grants currently, which is interesting.
Slide please. So this, we did the same thing for, and there's really no way to devise a typical commercial bill. So the assumption here is a 2-inch meter, 4,000 cubic feet of water used per month. That is a pretty large, pretty sizable commercial customer. And you see Gallup, unfortunately, already at the top of that list would go up a little bit more.
That's crazy.
Maybe lending a little bit of weight to the cost of service findings, which showed us that that burden should shift a little bit between single family and commercial.
And this line item is the shifted amount, right? This is the cost of service
Yes.
projection amount.
Yes, so this includes a 9% increase for commercial, so less than the 15% of family.
Yeah, that's really high for commercials.
Now, am I
And
right
most
in
of our
saying,
commercial, I'm sorry.
am I right in saying Los Lunas, Santa Fe? And all Aztec, Farmington and Cruces. Actually, Cruces, Los Lunas and Santa Fe, do they run off the river? Are they getting surface water from the river
Santa Fe was until the Rio Grande dried up.
till it dried up?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I'm not too sure. I know Aztec does.
I think Los Lunas does.
And I don't know about but they're shallower aquifers anyway.
Yes, that's right.
The other thing we're not showing is that we don't know which of these cities' rates will go up for 2027. We look at what the current rates are. And that's all my prepared material.
I have a question, Mayor.
Yeah.
Thank you. First of all, this is very interesting. I think very helpful. No one wants their water bills to go up, obviously, but we also understand that we have some serious infrastructure needs. My question is more, not specific to the study, and this may not even be a question for you, might be a question for the mayor, but over the last several years, the council also approved, incremental, increases, right? And so I was confused earlier when we had our meet and greet because I saw that, our rates are going to be changed for everything, water, electric, as of August 1st, which is this Saturday. And so that's going to go into effect. So we're already, because we're in an incremental increase that we approved for everything, for water, wastewater. So I guess as a statement, and then the question is, how would this, if we were to approve another increase, So we're increasing, there's already a rate increasing going this Saturday. And then this is a proposal for more increase. So how does that affect like that total, like we're doing double increase?
Yeah, I'm not mistaken, the incremental increases right now are electric.
No, we do have,
Water also?
yeah,
Yeah, we did them all.
2.6, and that was in the 2012. But the way I understand it, this will replace that.
This would replace that. So
yeah.
we wouldn't have both. We wouldn't have double. We would have.
No, we wouldn't have that incremental rate, but we would have 15% a year to get, so, yeah, so that this would replace any previous water rate increases and studies.
Patty, do you know what or does anyone know, does anyone actually know what our incremental rate is currently for water specifically that we have implemented?
2.68, is that right, Larry? Or is it 5?
5, okay, so 5, okay, so this would be
It was
worse.
CPI.
I mean, I'm not trying to be difficult, just, this would be worse.
And what was the increase? Was it CPI based on the increase?
Electric. And electric right now is CPI based. Wastewater has a set increase according to the ordinance. And solid waste, I just had a rate increase.
Mhm.
And the rates, and they have a set rate increase in their ordinance as well.
Thank you, Jackie. Appreciate it.
Yeah, because I just want to be clear that,
No, we're not gonna pile on.
yeah, I don't want to have a set rate
Yeah.
increase. I mean, I realize it's for everything, water, wastewater, electric, but we're just talking about water specifically. So water specifically, because we're having that conversation now, I don't want it to be like a set increase of 5% and then we're not voting on this tonight anyway, but I just want to say for future, I don't want to be 5% and then we're adding another 12.3%. Like this would replace that other incremental.
When we come
increase.
back, Satya or can get that information and so can Jackie of what those increases have been, those
Yeah,
annual
that'd be great.
increases. You can actually see them
Perfect.
and then compare them.
I have a question on the projected revenue requirements. It looks like kind of a steady increase from year to year, but this is looking to the future. So I'm curious about looking to the past. Has that been the pattern as well? Like say over the last 10 years, I'm asking somebody in the city now, like if that's typical, that is it just kind of due to inflation in general, or why? What are the primary factors in calculating that revenue requirement going up?
It's a good question.
Everything.
Capital's the big driver.
Capital,
Like pipes.
So we need a financial expenditures model. But Patty, go ahead, Nancy.
So in the past, because we've been struggling to get the water rates up to an amount sufficient to what this is reflecting for what we need to invest in our infrastructure. In the last 2 weeks are a really good example of the results of us not doing that. So it's really not a good base to use our past spending to make that inflated, because we have held back significantly on our capital needs just based on cash flows. So we met our spending just based on what we were bringing out in cash. This one took the CIP and what we need. And that was based on all the different experts and everybody contributing to the CIP listing. This is taking what we need and what the city infrastructure needs, and then this firm, they put everything together to help say, here's what it's gonna take to meet those needs. So this is trying to get the really neglected and dilapidated infrastructure back in good shape. It does take time, and it was significant. That's why we recommended we work with these guys to come up with a tiered increase over multiple years. But this isn't taking historical and just inflating it. This is taking what is estimated to be needed and working with inflation.
so I have a follow-up question while you're here, Patty. So given that the council recently approved for the Navajo Gallup surcharge that people have been paying to go toward infrastructure improvements, is that considered in this process?
It is a part of this process, but a lot of that also has to pay the debt service.
Okay,
So it's not necessarily considered to be operational money specifically contributed for this need. It still has to also be part of the debt service. So as much as we could, we carved that money out.
But that money will go away soon, right? Because we're almost at our cap. So once we're at our cap, will that go off people's bills, or they're still gonna pay it even though we're at our
No,
cap?
we still negotiating, I can tell you where that is, but we're still negotiating when the system starts running water for Navajo Gallup. There's a huge buy-in and no one in that we have to pay every year. So that money is still gonna be necessary, and so will the GRT that we're utilizing on that side of the house too. And the debt's gonna run another 20 years.
Oh, my
It
God.
doesn't just go away because we're completed with the project, just like you build your house, you're gonna pay on it for the next 20 years. So
Yeah.
we're gonna pay on our new house for 20 more years once we complete this.
Well, I do think it's important for the community to understand, because I do hear a lot of rumblings and on social media about, well, yeah, shocking. I know, it's shocking.
Really?
But about, well, Gallup, get your infrastructure, and you've had failing infrastructure for 20 years, and they're not wrong, but we can't have it both ways, and we want to be cognizant of people have fixed incomes and people, we have to be careful, but we can't keep pushing it off, because we all want better infrastructure. We don't want to have bad infrastructure for flash flooding and all this stuff, but we all pay for that too. It's not we get better infrastructure and nobody pays for that. That's not how it works. So I do think it's important for us to have these candid conversations with the community to understand, like, failing infrastructure gets better when we all pay into it. So
It's only now, Bruce, is if you have a nice operating car, you don't wanna pay for the oil change, cause it's about $100. So if you go long enough without paying that $100, now you're gonna need a few $1,000 for that.
now you need a new car. Maybe.
So it's best to invest in and do what we can now. Yes, we have some of the past, the basic oil change standard of what it needs. But we're working on it, and helps to address that, and it is not something we like proposing to make these rate changes. But also keep in mind that all the work that these gentlemen put into this, they're assuming that this rate increase would have been effective July 1. Which the rate we have right now, 5%, roughly 5%, it was effective July 1, they'll start seeing it on the bills August 1. So if we take a while to do this, we're already gonna be behind curveball if we're not able to get to an agreement, get an ordinance in the next couple of months. So that is something to consider, that you guys want more time to study and go back and look at different scenarios. It's probably gonna bring the recommendation up just a little bit to catch up with what we're seeing on.
We've been talking about rate increases for 3 years that I
Yeah, we've
know
been
of.
talking about that.
And nobody wants to raise the rates, but I like what I'm saying here because we're raising a lot more to our commercial users than our residential is very minute. That was important to
Well,
me.
no, this actually, the percentage goes more to the residential.
It's residential
More.
more because they're significantly underpaying. But we are taking, in the recommendation, we are taking the city rate once we realize how much we are underpaying ourselves, and we're bringing it up to par even. Because I don't feel that it's fair to not do it that way.
Right.
I think we need to look at that in two ways. We can charge the city rate more. And then give our citizens less park equipment and other stuff, because now we're paying for the water. At a higher rate, there needs to be a trade-off there, and I'm gonna propose we don't go as high on that, because then that's just taking resources away. From infrastructure and other stuff that we're looking at putting in for the citizens.
Yeah. that's-
Thank you, Frank. Patty, one thing, well, with that, with let's say the lights are on at the stadium tonight. Who pays that bill? The power bill?
But actually, risk management fund pays all of that, but it's not the utilities fund that pays that.
But it is paid
Yeah.
by somebody.
So that comes out of our operational money, he's right. So there is a trade-off for that would come out of money available for what we put into seniors, what we put into parks, what we put into, just about anything we do. So it's a balance.
Well, thanks. It's nice to see it's only 15% actually, because when you don't drill a well in 20 years and you were drilling one every 3 years at millions of dollars and not spending that money, and we're able to catch up with this, it's kind of exciting. It makes me happy. I was anticipating a lot more, John. Thank you.
Well, it's under 15, right? 12 point.
Well, they're just 15 on that table there, 15 across the residential. Please do.
Yeah, I'm curious, what is the reason for kind of loading it heavy on the front end in the first 2 years and then having the 3 years at the same rate versus doing 5 years of an even rate every year?
Their operating costs are increasing. You have
debt service, which is a fixed cost. And there's the additional capital, which we are stepping up to. So it takes an initial jump to kind of get to right the ship and then begin a more steady series of increases. We actually looked at, there's another scenario in the report in which I would call a rip the Band-Aid approach, which is an initial 30% increase and then inflationary after that. So this was actually a step back from a more severe initial increase, I guess, to meet immediate obligations and then start on the path. So that's why there's not a lot of flexibility to smooth them out with lower increases initially because of the initial costs.
Thank you.
Any more, you guys ask questions now, because John's gonna go
I
back to
gotta-
Colorado.
I got a more of a budget question, I guess. And it's probably in here, I didn't see it. What is our annual budget for our water department? We're talking about just water, right? And how close are we to becoming not profitable, but at a dead even? How close are we to that? What's the magic number? We're short, right? Drastically short?
As far as in operations and the rest would go under capital, we really held back this year on it. There is no magic number, but with this proposal and what we came up with on the CIP with engineer estimates and experts in the field, is we're gonna be investing, I believe it's about $7.2 million in capital a year. That's the big piece you need to understand. This is finally getting enough money in the capital to take care of the real needs and get us back up to really a much better operating position than we are now. I don't know what the total number is gonna be. I just didn't bring out a specific number, but it does take the basic operations with a little bit of inflation that we do have. And the major thing is we're finally dedicating a pretty precise amount into capital, and we use what cash we can, and then in the overall model, it will show where we're going to be doing additional debt to do that. To smooth it out, because it's really hard to manage the cash with capital investment. When we do it just like based on cash, it's up and down, and then we have to get a new loan, so we throw that in there. And it's just not, it's too chaotic for us to really succeed in managing the system and getting the work done, getting all the support system we need for contractors, for parts, materials, this is gonna allow us to do a better job, I think, to succeed in improving the system.
Good enough, thank you.
So follow-up question on that. So approximately how many projects are we talking? I mean, we have like 30 million plus in pipes that we need to fix, right? So I assume this will not take care of that in one full swoop. But I mean, are there like, do we have an idea of like how many projects that are in the waiting, or no, we don't have an idea of that?
So
7 million years. Okay.
But that 10 CIP plan was presented to you a few months ago.
Mhm.
That was the basis for the start of this.
Okay.
And we tweaked it a couple of times with these guys, we gave updates. And so it's based on that. They're not gonna correlate exactly because this is a very dynamic situation and what our needs are. Even the last 2 weeks, I'm sure there's a couple of projects changing.
Sure.
We had one come up today that changed what we thought we had planned.
Okay.
So from the financial side, I can just tell you dollar wise, we've kind of got it covered for a few years. Exactly which projects or how many are in that, it's
Changing.
we just can't know it now closely yet.
Okay.
We also need to show that we have the funding to take on additional debt when we apply to Water Trust Board and other agencies. So this rate increase will help us show that with the added revenue, we have the ability to take on more debt to do more infrastructure improvements sooner than just sticking to that revenue each year that we're allocating. We can actually start borrowing and doing more upfront.
John, just to make sure, this table that you presented us, the way it's put together, so it's residential and tied classes. Yeah, if it's 27 is 15%, it's 15% all the way across.
Yes,
Is that what the recommendation is then?
yes.
Okay, and then commercial will be 9% initially, 7% down to 5, 3, and then 3.
Exactly right.
But
That's a
this-
5-year proposed.
When it says annual system-wide increases under 2027, it says 12.5. Is that just like an average?
So the combined effect of the increases in the table there to the left for each individual class would result in 12.5% more rate revenue in total, which is
Oh,
what you need for the,
That
to
goes
meet
back
all
to
the
your other table,
obligations.
so.
Yeah.
oh, okay, so that's,
12.5% is the increase in the pie that's needed.
but the
And
15 is the,
that's how the individual slices need to change. And it will generate the 12.5% increase. in
I
total.
see, I see. Okay, that's why it's different. Okay, thank you for that explanation.
Okay, any other questions? No,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
This
you.
was helpful.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for a wonderful presentation and
Actually, great.
bad news, no, shit. We knew it was coming. Our next item is consent agenda. These items are placed on the consent agenda, so city council can designate by unanimous consent those routine items they wish to be approved or acknowledged by one motion. If any one item does not meet the approval of all council members, or if a citizen so requests, it will be heard as a separate item.
There, someone has, I think someone wants to put something.
Oh, I'm sorry, Larry.
Gonna allow comment on the.
Yeah, yeah, if you want to come up, Larry, feel free. Sorry about that. I didn't jump. Okay. You got 2 minutes, Larry. No, just kidding.
Believe it or not, sure.
Okay.
First of all, I want to tell you all how happy I am to see the care that you are taking with this issue. Especially you, Sarah, that's very good. I am just very proud to see you taking that care with all these details.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Really, I mean, but whatever you decide to do, because ultimately, obviously, this is a report that the city's paid for, and you're gonna take it into consideration, and there'll later be some proposal based on, right? So, anyway, whatever you decide to do about the details, really what my comment is about is don't lowball this thing. Don't lowball this, because the amount of increases in cost associated with everything associated with water, especially in the West, is going to go up more than people expect it to. You know that, Mark. I mean, this is certainty. It's an absolute certainty.
And
It's
demand-
not gonna be a trivial change. And so what we want is we want to have water that is high quality, that has proper pressure, that has backup, and that we have enough money in, the bank here to actually make other arrangements that may be so far only partially foreseen. For instance, water for Navajo Gallop. That's just this one example. And so, anyway, there at 16 years ago, when I was chairman of the water board, we worked with the city on a rate increase, okay? And although I don't want to compare apples and oranges without acknowledging that there are apples and oranges, just a reminder of something that you may know, you may remember, is that when the federal law went into effect that approved the Navajo water rights settlement, and therefore at the same time authorizing Navajo Gallop, the official stated cost of that project, although some thought it too small at the time, was $900 million. It is now $2.25 billion. In other words, if you do that quick math, that's 150% increase in 16 years. Okay, so this is only a 5-year deal. And I have no argument with the work that these folks have done. And they've done it, I know, with constant back and forth with city personnel. So they are using what you all or the employees have said are the figures that they should basically work with in terms of what the city's planned expenditures are. And so I just want to say this, in my opinion,
should be considered their proposal overall, not the details, but overall. A minimal accepted figure. A minimal accepted figure.
Thank you.
And the fact that it's just a 5-year plan may reflect the understanding that we're gonna have to go back and do it again in 5 years. But anyway, I applaud your seriousness and your interest in this, and it makes me feel confident in you all. And thank you very much for the care you're giving this topic.
Thank you, Larry. Anybody else? Good. All right, with that, then we'll go on to the consent agenda. And again, these items are placed on the consent agenda. The city council can designate by unanimous consent those routine items they wish to approve or acknowledge by one motion. If any item does not meet the approval of all council members, or if a citizen so requests, it will be heard as a separate item. And with that, Al, if you could read the items.
Consent agenda, item number 1, request for approval of contract between the city of Gallup and on behalf of its municipal court and county of McKinley for services related to the DWI program. Consent agenda, item number 2, resolution number R 2026-29, approval of the New Mexico Tourism Department Clean and Beautiful Grant Agreement and related budget adjustments and expenditures.
Make a motion to approve the 2 consent agenda items as listed.
Second,
Counselor Molina,
Yes.
Counselor Piano.
yes.
Counselor Garcia.
Yes.
Counselor Yazzie.
Yes.
Mayor DePauli.
Yes. The next item are the discussion action items. Item number 1 is resolution number R 2026-30, fourth quarter fiscal year 2026 budget adjustments and reports of actuals. And our speaker is going to be Patty Holland.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this is the fun part of what I do is I take all of our $260 million in budgets and I compile it in format DFA wants to see, and then I bring it to you for approval. The only real thing to note on here is that we do still have some loans for some items out for reimbursement through some grant funds. So right now, our library fund, we had to loan $30,000. Our intergovernmental grants is at $200,000. Senior citizens is at 3.5 million. Wastewater is 100,000. Airport improvements 125. Legislative funding 250, and the airport is almost 2.6 million. I've been working with Keepings Department. We're trying to get the list compiled to look at all of that to make sure we know where all those funds are and that we're getting them timely requested and identify. We do know there's a little bit in there that is not going to come in due to different issues. So we'll be bringing those back to you for cleanup work. But for now, that's where we're at to end the year. We do that because DFA will not let us report a fund in the negative, even though overall we have spent more than we take in because we have to spend it before we can receive it on most funds. It's not unusual. It's not unexpected. That's just the way that the business works. You spend the money, then you submit everything and they'll send it to you. We're hoping to work on processes and her meetings have been working on that and trying to get everybody more timely and quicker turnaround. But when you're building a huge senior citizen center, that's fast. You're gonna have a large cash outlay just pending. That's just part of what's going on there. So it's not anything that we're alarmed about at this point. It's just how we were as of June 30th. The other reports, they give you all the basic details, but because these funds don't correlate well with what we have in Navaline, it's really hard to understand them. When we get our new ERP system, we're gonna map them so that they make a lot more sense to you and you can see how these roll up. Because some of these funds on the DFA side, they have multiple funds rolling into them. Some of them, like the very top 2 or 3, those are correlate 1 for 1, pretty much with just the first 3 digits. I didn't have any unusual items for budget or actuals that needed your attention. We did not complete everything we had budgeted because many of them are multi-year projects, so they'll continue in the new year. And you'll see that in Q1, you'll see the amount of projects that we did roll forward. And it was significant. We're hoping to complete a few of them this year, so it's less work next year to roll them. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Questions? Sarah?
Quick question. I hope. What's the wastewater capital project? Which one is that?
That's our capital spending fund, but they have, a lot of that is, some of that is tied up into the loans. So that one's reimbursement based as well. So we do the work and then we get the money from NMFA. So there's just a lag in there getting those drawn down.
I mean, grants, not loans,
Well,
grants.
the most of them are loan and grant, but I don't know which specific ones we have in here.
Okay.
But yeah,
But
it's
it's reimbursement.
fund.
Okay.
It's a reimbursement grant. Oh, okay. Okay, I didn't know if that was like a specific project that we had or if that, okay. All right. That was my question.
Mayor.
Yeah.
Okay, the senior citizen, that's for construction, of course, correct?
Yes.
Now, how about the airport?
Here.
It's a 2.57.
They've got a couple things there. The big one is there's multiple pieces in there related to the trade port, related to the design of the new terminal. It's also some of the RAISE grant, which is the air service money. So they've got several large things going on in there and those as well as,
Which of this is designed, you know?
I do not know specifically, but I could get that number for you.
Very good, thank you.
One quick question. I seen the separate report on the lodgers tax fund. There was a question last month on whether we needed to have a cash reserve in the lodgers tax. Did we clear that up?
That is a cash policy that's in place, that we do have a cash reserve in there because, again, we're spending it as we collect it typically. That is a council action item. If you guys want to change that, I could bring that forward and change it to what you want it at. And then we can proceed from there. Right now, because it is a policy that's council approved, the minimal balance is 500,000.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Anybody?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution number R 2026 30, fourth quarter fiscal year 2026 budget adjustment and report of actuals.
Counselor Molina.
Yes.
Counselor Garcia.
Yes.
Counselor Piano.
Yes.
Counselor Yazzie.
Yes.
Mayor DePauli.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is resolution number 2026 31, McKinley County multiple jurisdictional hazard, can't even think, multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan adoption. And our speaker is John Parrott. Fire Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and I have a presentation for you. So while we're getting the presentation up, so McKinley County has a multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. And there's really three like agencies that are involved in this: McKinley County Office of Emergency Management, or McKinley County, the City of Gallup, and the Gallup McKinley County Schools. So we've actually been working on this. Our last plan was from 2021. We've been working on this since 2024. And kind of the process that goes with this is once we've met with citizens on this, we've had several public outreach meetings. A lot of the city departments have worked on this, not just the fire department, but the police department, all of our utility infrastructure, and a lot of different departments have worked on this. How this plan works is once we put the plan together, it gets sent to the New Mexico State Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. Once they approve it, then they send it to FEMA. Once FEMA approves it, then we get a letter from FEMA saying, you guys are good to go, but now all the agencies or the jurisdictions inside the plans have to adopt it. Then we notify FEMA that we've adopted it, and then the plan kind of comes in place. So that's kind of the process that we're going through now. So we'll go to the next slide. So basically, a lot of people ask, well, what is a hazard mitigation plan? Basically, what we're trying to do is reduce injuries and property damage from natural disasters. All right, and this is an important thing about the hazard mitigation plan. It's for natural disasters, not man-made disasters. Those are different plans that we have. We're also trying to reduce the impact of natural disasters by protection, preventive activities, or mitigation. If we know that there's hazards in place, what mitigation efforts can we do to try to lessen the impact of these disasters that happen? So like with the recent flooding, there's some potential mitigation projects we could do with some of our drainages or culverts. That's part of the hazard mitigation plan. It's putting this plan together and figuring out what we need to do to reduce the impact of these natural hazards.
And so when we, at the very bottom, you're gonna see preparedness. Preparedness is kind of how we prepare for natural disasters. Our goal is to never have a natural disaster, but we can't control Mother Nature, so. We are gonna have natural disasters. But we look at what type of natural disasters do we have? Like, we don't plan for tsunamis. Right, and we could put that in our hazard mitigation plan. If we were impacted by a tsunami, we have a lot of problems that, other problems that we're gonna have to figure out. And then becomes the disaster, then there's a short-term response, there's recovery, and then there's long-term recovery, which could take years to years and years. And mitigation happens on both sides of that. Mitigation is how do we prepare for those natural disasters? The other far end of the mitigation is we've had these natural disasters happen. What have we found out, and what do we need to prevent them from happening again? So that's where mitigation comes through. You wanna go to the next slide? So the hazard mitigation plan is a 5-year plan. So basically it identifies the hazards that impact our community. And the thing about Gallup and McKinley County, if you look at Gallup, we have different, we're all impacted by the same hazards, but we have different impacts from those hazards from the city of Gallup to McKinley County. We go from an urban area to a very rural area. So that's why the different organizations are involved in this, because what works for the city of Gallup isn't gonna work for McKinley County. What works for them isn't gonna work for us. So that's why we work on this together. So we look at the different types of hazards, we analyze the risks, and we do a lot of research on this. Like, how many times have these disasters happened? And when these disasters have happened, what has been the actual impact on the community? So we look at that, not over just the last 5 years, we go back 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, we look at the historical data to figure out our hazards changing in our community as just everything changes. All right, so once we go through this process, we get this approved through the state and through FEMA. And basically what this does is having this multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan in place, it allows us for federal funding through certain grants through FEMA. Like the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities Program, the Flood Mitigation Assistance. To be even eligible for those grants, you have to have a multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan in place. So having this plan opens us up to a lot of grants. But before we apply to those grants, we have to figure out what projects are the priority for our community, for McKinley County, because there's only a certain pot of money that is available for communities across the country for these, so we have to figure out what are our priorities for our community. Next slide. So again, we've already talked about this. The goal is to reduce the risk from these natural hazards, try to get accurate data of how we're gonna mitigate these, plan for them, respond. Looking at during emergency situations, how does our hazard mitigation plan come into place with emergency responses? So again, what we're trying to do is really minimize the risk to life and property from the hazards. All right, and some of the hazards that we talked about was like dam failure. We have a dam in Gallup. There's multiple dams in McKinley County, and if we had a dam that was dam failure, there's significant impact to those communities. Right? Drought. A lot of people think, well, drought's not a natural disaster. Well, if you live in the county and you have a ranch, that is a disaster. That is impacting your livelihood. Extreme temperatures, highs and lows, flooding, as we know, high winds, severe winter storms, thunderstorms. We talked about tornadoes as well. There have been tornadoes in McKinley County, but then wildfire. So we've kind of looked at these and kind of ranked them. All right, next slide. And just to let you know about the ranking, even though one may be ranked number 1, it doesn't mean that we're going to work on that one first versus number 5. What we want to do with the hazard mitigation plan is let's pick the low hanging fruit first. What can we do now to try to mitigate some of these hazards that we can get quick money for? We can knock out these projects quickly, because some of these projects are multi-year, a ton of money projects that we know about. All right, and those aren't things that we can fix real fast. Those are things that are going to take planning. So this meets the requirements of the 44 Code of Federal Regulations. So the Department of Homeland Security approved the plan on May 7th, 2026. I am sorry, I forgot to put the date that FEMA did that. It is in the letter that's attached to the packet. And it says it expires to 2026. It's actually February of 2031. All right, because again, these are for 5 years. We already talked about the entities of McKinley County, City of Gallup, McKinley County Schools. So we started working on this in 2024. We kind of ended our data collection in 2024. And again, you can see some of the natural hazards that we profiled in our community. Next slide. So it's a 5-year cycle, all right? Starting in 2028, we'll start planning again. Right, we'll start really working on it in 2029. The county applies for the funding to pay for this because we have consultants that do this for this because they have a lot more of the background and experience and they work with multiple communities on this. So in 2031, we'll be working on our next hazard mitigation plan update. Next slide. All right, so basically why we're asking for adoption, it's basically saying you as the city council have approved this. And that you guys are okay with us having this multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. And basically, it's allowing us, once all the agencies approve this, to start implementing parts of this plan. And again, we can be eligible for certain FEMA grants. So the recommendation is to approve. Adopt and approve the McKinley County multi-jurisdiction hazard mitigation plan. And again, it's right now, it's not costing the city any money. All right, there's no financial impact on us right now, but this opens us up for grants. And with that, I will stand for any questions.
But Ron, thank you so much. Just one question with hazard. In the years past, we've had problems with propane tanks, or either on the railroad. Explain what the difference between that type of hazard is and the dam or the flooding or that kind of, why they're not categorized under the same.
So for example, like the railroad, let's say we had a rail car that was going down the rail and the rail washed out because of flooding. That's a natural hazard that we can try to mitigate to prevent that from happening. Now, if the train just derails because there's a mechanical failure, that's not a natural hazard. A lot of these plans, they kind of combine. But when it comes to man-made hazards, there's a lot more that really goes into that. And a lot of times it's hard to mitigate what people are gonna do. But we can try to mitigate some natural hazards that we know from history in our community, how things happen. Like the flash flooding that we've had that happen in the past. I mean, it's been several years, but it's happened in the past. All right, and we can look at all of our natural hazards and there's kind of a schedule that they sort of repeat on, it seems like.
Thanks for the explanation. Yeah, Sarah?
I was just gonna ask if the other entities had signed off on this yet.
McKinley County is in the process of getting their signed. It may be on this Thursday's agenda or it may be on the next one.
Tuesday.
I think, or next two, I forget when the county commission has their meetings. So there should be on the next one, or the one after. And then Gallup McKinley County Schools, it's whenever their next school board meeting is. We're not
Okay.
sure. But they're in the process of adopting it as well.
Okay. And then what is then after everyone signs it, you'll send it off to the state?
Correct, so we send it to the state and then we send it to FEMA saying that all the jurisdictions have adopted it and approved it. And then basically our hazard mitigation plan is in full effect.
And then they'll decide within a certain amount of time if it's good to go to FEMA or that they approve it for you.
FEMA's already approved it.
Oh, they already.
Yeah, we cannot adopt it until FEMA's approved it. So the state's already approved it, FEMA's already approved it.
It's
Now
right, that's fine.
basically they're saying you guys approved it.
Oh,
You're the
interesting.
last.
Okay. I misunderstood that. Okay, that makes sense. All right.
So the plan itself wasn't included in our materials, though, in that
If you want a copy of the plan, I will get it to you. It is-
electronic is fine.
It is a huge plan.
I would imagine so.
I can get you copies of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's
That'll be
a
a
good
test.
question.
Ron?
Mitigating hazards, barriers, it all equals safety, right? Safety is a part of everything we do. People are probably tired of hearing that out of my mouth, but why are we waiting till 2028? Is that what I heard? Did I miss something there?
So these hazard mitigation plans are for 5 years. So the last plan was in 2021. So usually 2 years before the plan is due for update, we start working on it because it takes us about a year and a half to go through the plan, update everything we need, and then go through the approval process. So the 2021 plan, we started in 2024 to update it. Or we used the 2021 plan. We started in 2024 for the 2026 update. So this plan is for 2026. So like in 2028, 2029, we will start working on the 2031 hazard mitigation plan. Because they're good for 5 years.
In the current one that we have, is there provisions for inspecting our culverts, our underground waterways?
Yes,
And is that getting done?
yes, and
I don't mean to put you on the spot. I just, and if it's not, we need to look at that and see if we can get that done.
well, I can tell you yes and no, because on certain things inside the city they're being done, but I can't
And,
answer for like McKinley County and Gallup McKinley County.
and whose responsibility is that? The fire departments?
No, it's whoever the department is. So usually if it comes to like drainages, culverts or stuff like that, that's gonna be our public works department. Again, every department in the city, a lot of departments in the city have input into this, so it kind of spreads out who's responsible.
And then we have a pump. Mark explained to me that we have a pump there on Maloney that half the time it fails, you know, who's responsible for checking that pump and making sure it's working? We should be checking it periodically, right, to make sure it's working.
That is a department in Mexico, Department of Transportation.
Okay, that's DOT. Okay, so we need to push them to get that part done. They're not part of this plan, so that's a separate entity. Okay,
Good point.
very good. I forgot about that.
Thank you, Ron. Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, I have a question. So Chief, so when and if this is approved, so, this is the last of it to get to FEMA, then everything will go into place for emergency help?
No,
Am I understanding?
that's the next count, and not the next council agenda item, the one after that, I'll be up here talking about the disaster.
Okay,
Oh,
okay.
This is the plan on how to prevent disasters from happening, or lessen and prevent disaster.
Mitigate.
all right, I'll make a motion to approve resolution number R 2026-31, McKinley County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan Adoption.
Second,
Counselor Piano,
Yes.
Counselor Garcia,
yes.
Counselor Yazzie,
Yes.
Counselor Molina,
Yes.
Mayor DePauli.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John, I don't know how, the next item is number 3, and I don't know how it got moved in front of yours, but this is request for approval of travel abroad to Barcelona, Spain for Mayor Mark DePauli. And what this consists of is a company called Idiota. It builds test tracks. They test everything from cars to heavy equipment, ATVs, just about everything that has wheels on it. And they are looking at building one of these test tracks out in our trade port area. Right now it's out there on Carbon Coal Road. What they've done is they've asked for representatives from the city, the county, the owner, and the other trade port participants to go look at their test track in Barcelona, Spain, run by Idiota. And what this is just approval for send the mayor to Barcelona, and it's at no cost to the city. So
So
if anybody questions,
I have
maybe Frank can answer them too.
I have a question and comment. So number one, I just wanted to, I wanted to make a clarification. There is an error on the agenda item. It says it will, the cost will be covered by the Trade Port Authority Board, but county manager did inform us that this is actually a grant that the county has that will be covering the costs. I had a little bit of a problem with the Trade Port Authority Board covering because we pay into the Trade Port Authority. But this seems to be covered by a grant that they have, so that is just incorrect information on the, so if we, however we move forward, we just need to make a note that it's being covered by a county grant, not by the Trade Port Board. I'm saying that correctly, right, Frank?
The grant, I believe, was for the Trade Port Authority. So, yeah, you're right. I'm not too sure
I
exactly.
mean,
how the-
it checked with the county manager today earlier, and he said it wasn't being covered by the Trade Port Authority. So I'm not sure if we just need clarification on that, but I mean, I want to ask the questions I feel people probably are asking, like, wow, you're gonna send the mayor to Spain. That seems cool. This isn't against you, Mayor. It's just more of, I think just for understanding of the community and it seems, I think probably from people from the outside too, like, why is this necessary? Why do so many people need to go to Spain for a trip? I mean, it seems excessive to me, I'm not gonna lie, but I did get a little bit of more information and I was told that they really want all the players there and that there's not really a point of sending everybody else, if someone from the city, they want all the partners there, so they want at least one person from the city, so I do understand that. I'm still a little confused as to why we need to send people all the way to Spain, but it's a little unfair to you to defend yourself when you're the person we're sending, so I wish someone else would have maybe given the presentation.
I'm not defending myself. I initially declined, and they
They did.
said that they really needed someone there. And the reason I'm going is because I have the technical knowledge to tell them how much water we have or, what the dirt work or anything that's going to be there. So it makes more sense for me to go than anybody else. So that's the reason. But yeah, I wasn't going to go. And then we were told that they wanted us there and it would be very important for the city to go. So that's why I ended up going.
Can you? Yeah, go on. Can you give any more information, Frank, about why it would be essential for the city to have a representation there? Because it does sound like there's about 8 people going on this trip.
I can't speak for the other 7 going.
Yes, right, that's up to them.
That's up to the county who's managing the grant. I think it's very important the city goes. I mean, the last big overseas thing they did to recruit businesses and such, it sucks to get called at 1 a.m. Can you please tell us what the cost is of electricity if they use such and such? And at 1 o'clock in the morning, it's like, really? They need to take people who can speak. And since this is in the city and we are supplying the infrastructure, they need to take people, and that is what I've told them. They need to take people who are knowledgeable of. The others going, representing their entities, that's between them and their entity.
Sure.
But Mark and I did, or the mayor and I did talk about it. I need to be here. Don't want to use the analogy, I'm keeping my head above water with the last few floods, but that's what it is right now. And he would be a better representative with his knowledge of infrastructure. So we discussed it and we both thought it would be best for him to go.
I got a comment about that. Out of all the people that are going, I'm not sure, I just know about 2 or 3 of them that are going. Mark is the best man for that job. Like Frank said, with his background, his knowledge, he's the one we need up there. The others, if the entities decide to send them, that's up to them. But we do need some representation from the city. And Mark is the one that I think is the best qualified to go do that.
And I also agree because this is a city, county, state wide entity that hopefully will start a business or whatever. And like he says, our mayor knows the infrastructure and they have questions like that. And of course, their time is different from our time. So if you call, like, again, our city manager, 1, 2, 3 in the morning, and he's like, what are you talking about? They're in meetings and they want answers right then and there because it's an afternoon. So a mayor being there who knows what our infrastructure, all what's going on as an engineer, I think it can go for us for him.
I'd like to make a motion. If everybody's ready. Motion to approve the request for approval of the travel abroad to Barcelona, Spain for Mayor Mark DePauli.
Second.
Can we just make an amendment of where the funding is coming from on this? Because of what I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, how does that work, Al, if the agenda is not right? It's a grant, paid for by a grant.
Can make a friendly amendment to the motion about where the
Okay,
payment,
that's how it's coming.
about the grant being paid for the travel expenses.
If you think it's needed, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I think we should make sure that when we motion to approve things that are Correct. That's why I made it, I made that motion. That's why I made that mention early on.
You're gonna slow the process down. When is the trip?
No, it's not, no, it doesn't slow the process. You just need to amend your motion, right? Or if no one else. I'm not talking about tabling it. I'm just saying amend your motion with the correction in the,
Just with the correction that it won't be paid for by the Trade Board Authority, it'll be paid for by a grant. That
right, that's all I'm saying.
an economic development grant from the state of New Mexico.
And Counselor Molina, if you agree to that amendment. you can
I
state
will.
that, Restate.
Request, approval for the request of the approval of the travel abroad to Barcelona, Spain for Mayor Mark DePaule. As long as it's paid for by a grant.
Economic development and economic development.
Grant, any grant.
Grant's a grant.
Who cares?
Thank you.
Whatever.
As long as the city's not paying for it.
And second by Counselor Garcia, so I'll call the roll. Counselor Molina,
Yes.
Counselor Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Piano,
Yes,
Counselor Yazzie,
Yes.
Mayor DePaul.
Yes. Okay, the last item number 4 is resolution number 2026-32, declaring an emergency / disaster in the city of Gallup. And our speaker again is John Perry.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. And before I get into the declaration, if you would humor me for a minute, there's a couple of things I would like to talk to the council about, but also to the citizens of Gallup. When people talk about Gallup, you hear good things and bad things. All right? A lot of times, the bad things that we hear overpower the good things. And I'm not gonna lie, Gallup has its problems, just like any other city in the nation. City in our state, we have our problems. And we're working on to fix our problems. And I'm not just talking about problems with the city, but we just have problems in our city limits. The other thing is during the flooding, there was a lot of criticism that was going around, and that's okay. Everybody has a right to criticize whoever they would like, whether it was criticizing other citizens, the city, that's their right, and I appreciate that right, because when people criticize, sometimes they are bringing up facts and things that we need to look at. But some of the things that didn't get talked about during the flooding was the good things. In this day and age, it's very hard, you don't see neighbor helping neighbor. You don't see stranger helping stranger. And that happened all over the city during the days that it flooded. When I was down at the intersection of 4th and 66 trying to get people out of their cars, there were people that were coming up trying to help. They had no idea who that other person was in their car. They were just like, there's somebody in need and we're gonna help them. There was more of that in this city than anybody will ever know. And as the fire department and police department, a lot of people thank us for what we do, like in responding to emergencies, and we appreciate that, but that's our job. But in the city of Gallup, during those floodings, almost every city department responded. We had multiple city employees that were out sandbagging City Hall, sandbagging other places. We had folks from the library trying to protect books that from being damaged. We had museum staff that were protecting artifacts. Parks department was trying to maintain our parks so they don't get destroyed. We had purchasing and finance and the EOC, making sure we follow procurement laws. When we were making emergency contracts or emergency purchases, we had HR there, risk management, looking at city damage. This was a citywide response. Almost every city employee responded. And there's something special about some of our city employees. If you look at our neighbors to the south from the Pueblo of Zuni, they have been hit devastating. There's homes down there that are total losses. When you have water up to the windowsill, you can't go back to that home. And there's many, many homes in Zuni that have been damaged or destroyed. The city of Gallup has numerous employees that live in Zuni. And when those floods hit here, those floods hit Zuni. Did those employees go home to Zuni? No. They stayed here and worked. And I can't tell you what's more heartbreaking when you see city employees, firefighters, police officers that are worried about their own home, but they're out here trying to protect other people's homes. If I don't see a bigger dedication to the city of Gallup and its citizens, I don't know anything that there is, that they're staying here, protecting the city versus going home and taking care of their own home and their own families. So with that, thank you. I just needed to let the public know that. And also, usually when I come up to city council, I have my boots shined, nice clean uniform. I was outside today doing damage assessments on homes. We had representatives from the New Mexico State Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, and also folks from FEMA out of Arizona. So what we're in the process of doing, and you guys are gonna get a very quick class on how disasters work. If you would like more information, there's like several hundred hours of training to go through to try to figure this out, but I'm gonna try to tell you here quickly. So when a community goes through a disaster or has an emergency, the first thing that they need to do is declare a disaster to the state. To declare a disaster, there's a certain threshold of loss that has to be acquired. For McKinley County, that's about $356,000 in damages. Those damages do not come from personal property, they do not come from businesses, they come from city buildings, city infrastructure, or public infrastructure, or public lifelines like schools, hospitals, those critical facilities that are needed. So we are looking at our damages to city buildings, city roadways, city infrastructure, and included in that is our the equipment that we use, the personnel hours that responded to this, all the costs that the city has had to hit that 356,000. And that's for McKinley County. So McKinley County also responded, they have damage in the county, so their costs and our costs get combined to try to hit that $356,000. If we hit that threshold, then it's up to the governor to agree with your disaster declaration. Now, they're gonna look through our paperwork and see, well, that may count, this may not count, you know, there's auditing that goes on. All right. So this is the first step. Even if the city of Gallup declares a disaster, there's no guarantee that the governor will approve it. Right? There's no guarantee at all. But this is the first step. We have to declare a disaster. McKinley County also has to declare a disaster, and they're in the process of doing it. So what we're doing is we're already tracking costs, we're tracking damage to infrastructure. So today we had two preliminary damage assessment teams that were out here. Half of us were looking at private homes, the other half were looking at public infrastructure. All right, what we're trying to do is on the public infrastructure, get to that threshold. So once we declare, the county will declare. Once we start figuring out our numbers, we'll send that to the state. Once we kind of hit our threshold, then if the state approves our disaster declaration, that opens up some monies to come back to the city. So how that works is, let's say we have damage to public buildings and we have to file an insurance claim, they'll reimburse our deduction. Okay. If we spend $100,000 on a certain project, they'll pay us about 75% of that back. The state's not gonna cover all the costs. There's usually about a 75-25% share. But with the amount of money that we're looking at in response to these flooding events and the damage that was done, we're probably gonna hit that threshold. It's gonna be close, but with the counties, we're probably gonna be able to get there. The possibility of giving 75% back of the funds that we've used versus zero is, 75% sounds better than zero.
Yeah.
Now, the question is what about the private homes? If the state accepts our disaster declaration and they do an executive order, give a disaster declaration to the city of Gallup and McKinley County. What our citizens need to know is that's disaster declaration from the state does not cover private residents and businesses. They have to work with their insurance companies to cover that. Now, the problem in a lot of places in New Mexico, and especially Gallup and McKinley County, is we have a very low socioeconomic citizen base. A lot of the citizens that we talk to today have no insurance, no flood insurance, or they're underinsured, or they're renters and have no insurance. So the reason why we're doing preliminary damage estimates is if we have enough homes that have damage, and there's different types of damage. Then if we have enough homes that have damage to them, then the state may request a FEMA disaster. If FEMA says there's enough damage and they approve a disaster, then there is some assistance to our residents. So I just want to make it clear, us declaring this disaster does not guarantee the state's gonna approve it. This is the first step of many. There's many, many steps that we have to take. Even though if we don't know that we're gonna reach the FEMA level, what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be reaching out to some additional residents. We're gonna work on how we're gonna do that. But today I visited 12 homes. There were some homes, as soon as we opened the door, you could smell the mold in the water. I mean, just the dampness. I mean, we have homes where people probably can't live. And the homes that we visited today are the ones that called 911. Right, during the flooding events, and we talked to their neighbors. I know the city council has got many additional addresses they want us to look at. What we need to do is try to get as many addresses we can look at. The fire department is gonna go out and we're gonna do the preliminary damage assessments and report them to the state. To try to see if we can possibly get to the level of a FEMA disaster. I can't guarantee it's gonna happen. But I wanna assure the citizens that we are doing our part to try to get them covered. If we do nothing, they're not gonna get anything in return. We're gonna do our part the best we can to try to show the state of New Mexico and the federal government that we have infrastructure that's damaged, buildings that are damaged, that we have incurred costs from this flooding, and that our citizens may need some assistance and may need some help. So that's why we're gonna be going out and doing additional damage assessments over the next week or two. As long as it stops raining.
Yeah.
All right, if it continues to rain, we have additional flooding events. Even homes that we've already done damage assessments on, we can go reassess them to see if the damage has increased. So with that, I know that was a long thing for the disaster declaration, so what I'm asking is the city council to approve the city of Gallup disaster declaration. Once approved, and McKinley County approves theirs, we will send ours to the state. And then we will start working with the Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. And I will be working with them to start tracking cost estimates. To get us to that threshold to declare a state disaster through the governor's office. And with that, I will stand for any questions.
Thanks, John. Questions from the council? Councilor Asamoah Tutu.
Yeah, so what I'm understanding is you're not certain that we've hit that $356,000 threshold yet. But if and when we do, then we're kind of pre-approving this.
Yeah, so it's a little weird. If we're thinking about declaring a disaster, there's a certain time frame we have to tell the state. That we've had an issue, we've had an emergency. We think that we're going to declare a disaster. That has to be done within 72 hours of the event. I've already done that.
Okay.
Once that doesn't mean that we're declaring a disaster, it just says we have an issue, we may be declaring a disaster. So that's already been done from the city of Gallup and myself. Once we do that, there's a very specific time frame. If we don't declare a disaster and we add up all the costs, and if it takes us 6 months to add up the costs, because some of these projects may take a while to fix, or some of these issues may take a while to fix. If we wait too long and say, oh, we hit the threshold 4 months from now, they can say you're too late. But if we declare a disaster, then we have time to build up those costs. And we still have to meet the threshold. So it's better to declare the disaster and then start adding up the costs versus doing it the other way, because if we're out of that time frame, they're gonna say, sorry.
Okay, I see. Yeah, and then so we're doing it to have that opportunity and assuming that we will, especially given the county-wide impact being included in that.
Correct, and if we don't hit that threshold, then the state won't approve it, but we're gonna be close, because there were some areas of public infrastructure that had some major damage and those things are not cheap to fix.
Yeah, understood. Thank you.
Councilor Piano.
Yeah, I was just gonna say thank you so much for all the hard work that was put in. I know there was a lot of calls and people that were in trouble, and I appreciate not only the fire department, police department, but all the departments that were involved. It was a scary time for so many people, and a lot of people were negatively affected. And so super grateful to the departments, but also I really like this plan. I mean, I really hope that because I think that, like you said, it's really disheartening because I'm sure that even if you have a rental or mortgage insurance, it probably isn't gonna cover flooding because like that's a specific insurance and what normal person in this town would have flood insurance? We've been in a drought for like a year. So assuming most people don't have that. And so that is really sad because I've heard about a lot of homes that had water and mud damage. So I really appreciate the proactiveness and just saying, hey, it's not a for sure, but it's a possibility that if we get enough homes that were damaged, which I feel like we will. Um, so I just appreciate that proactiveness. And then kind of more of just a general question. If I mean, I know how busy you are and you went to 12 homes today. If the and maybe I missed this, but if the council does have additional homes, do you want us to let you know or just kind of wait
So
or?
what we're gonna, city manager, probably starting tomorrow, is figuring out how to do that.
Okay,
All right, I don't want to issue a PSA saying, if you have flood damage to your house, please call my cell number.
right.
And we can start taking a list because we're gonna get so many calls.
Yeah,
And what we're looking for is damage from the flood. So if you had a roof leak in your house for the last 10 years. And then during the storms, that roof leak got worse and it flooded your house, that's not storm damage. It's not flood damage. That's kind of a maintenance issue. They'll say, well, you didn't maintain your property, so that's what caused it. So what we're really trying to do is figuring out how we can try to organize how many people actually had water in their house. How, did they get mud flow in their house? Was it in their basement? If they have a basement, like one of the houses we went to today had 4.5 feet in their basement. All right. Right. We may be able to count those, but it's a non-finished basement, so they can't live down there. So the state and FEMA have different things on that. The state says, well, we can't really look at that for damage, but FEMA says, well, we can. So they have difference of opinions. There was another house we went to where it was we can assess that as major damage because they have water coming out of their electrical outlets. Like that's an issue in a house, like that house needs to be fixed. So what we're trying to do is figure out we need to organize a way to try to get people calling in. Like with real damage and real issues, so we can try to get to them, because if we have 13,000 homes that call us, there's gonna be 2 of us doing damage assessments, it'll take us forever to get.
yeah.
Hopefully that answered the question.
That did. Thank you.
Councilor Molina?
No comments.
See ya.
You have a motion?
Yeah, John, just one question, just to make sure everybody's clear. If you have back-to-back storms, we had the first one and then we had the second one. Let's say we have a third one. Does the disaster declaration? Yeah, sorry. Oh, we don't have to. Do you do a need a declaration for each storm or do you take in the cumulative?
No, so what happened with the state, so according to the deck, how I wrote the declaration is it says the flooding on July 16th, the flooding on July 21st and continuing storms. So it's a little bit different. For the state, they kind of just look as, this is like the July monsoonal rain storm. This was not our normal July monsoons. If we get to the point where there's a FEMA declaration, they look at storm systems. So they'll say, well, the 16th was one storm system and the 21st was another storm system. So that's 2 separate events that we're gonna have to start tracking and doing paperwork for. If it's the same storm front that came through, then FEMA will count that as one. So like I said, this is a first step, but there's a lot of processes and things we have to figure out along the way if we get to that point with FEMA.
Thank you. In fact, can we have a motion?
Motion to approve resolution number R 2026-32, declaring an emergency and disaster in the city of Gallup.
Second.
Counselor Yazzie,
Yes.
Counselor Molina.
Yes.
Counselor Piano.
Yes.
Counselor Garcia.
Yeah.
Mayor DePauli.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Chief.
you.
Barrett. The next is the comments by mayor and council and city manager. I'll go first. One of the things that is to our benefit and that we have to use, and this is citywide, is our C-clip fix. C-clip fix develops a database that can then be transferred to the GIS and then used by Chief Parrott or any of the disaster, either state or the federal disaster organizations to identify locations and the need. So the more people, and I'm not saying go out there and inundate it, but if you do have a problem, or you see something that doesn't look right, drainage inlets, water coming out of a different place, it shouldn't be coming out of flooded streets, flooded parking lots. Of course, trash and debris and inlets, use the C-clip fix to do that and try to use it and also provide either a picture or an address. And that way our GIS can use that for data to assist in any of the monies that we request and showing the real need and all the events that happened during the disaster. And with that, then one more thing, Chief Pablo, did you want to discuss the PRISM? If you would, please. Thank you.
Mayor, council, Erin Todlina, Pablo here, police chief. We did put out during our department head meeting, a couple of weeks ago, we discussed false information that was being shared through the internet as far as Facebook and TikTok, and it's called PRISM. PRISM News is an AI generated media that pulls from any source within our area. We've noticed that some of them were coming about. I think one of the ones that we had was at Walmart where there was a murder suicide and it said like it happened a couple of weeks ago, which was false information. And it creates a environment for our community and those that come here to think that these things are happening here when they're not. So we wanted to share that, and it's just not law enforcement. There's other things that are being shared, different pictures. I think they're pulling, like, I think one of the things was they pulled our DC's picture regarding something at Hobby Lobby, and it's just really false. So some of those things we wanted to let our community know. When it's out there, of course, it shows interest that wants you to click on it. It wants you to like and wants you to share. The more that you do that, the more that they continue to be in our community and keep pulling that information. So we encourage the public on our Facebook posts not to be clicking on them, not to be sharing them, and to use reliable sources for information as far as release. We release things through our website for Gallup Police, and also the city does. The county also has a website that they use to release information. And if you're not sure, check. You can call the PD, call those businesses, maybe Walmart, if there's something that's out there. Verify your information before you share, because it does create false information within our community, and we don't want to put that scare throughout our community. So I just wanted to share that, and I think Albuquerque Journal ran a story on it, and also KOB TV was out today to talk about that. So it's kind of new in our community, and a lot of people don't realize what is fake and what is real, and they're going to continue to share that. So we just encourage that. If you need more information on that, you can look at our website and get that information there. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Pablo. And it was KOAT.
KOAT.
Yeah. Thank you so much. With that, Councilor Garcia, I'll let you go next.
Don't have too much. I told Sarah she could take over.
A big mistake. No, I was just kidding.
No, I'm good. But I did want to mention that this Saturday, there will be our cleanup for the Chorita area, and that's part of my district and part of Councilor Molina's district. So there'll be that cleanup this Saturday. And then our ceremonial is going to be starting, I believe, July 31st. Our parade, will be having a Saturday parade, I believe at 9 o'clock in the morning. Is that correct? And then Thursday parade that changed also the time, I believe. All right. Oh, is it the same? Okay. I thought I read 7 PM instead of 9. Usually it's dark, but okay. And also, I just want to mention also that the police annual inspection will be on Monday, August 3rd at 8:30 AM. So we want to support our police officers for all the hard work that they do this inspection. I encourage all of us to go as council and mayor. and anybody else that supports our police department. And thank you, Chief and Deputy Chief, and your department for all your hard work and dedication. I truly appreciate you all. And I just want to mention also that, the Route 66 this past weekend, was a great success. I enjoyed most of it that I went to, but the Tunnel of Fire was exciting. There were just so many people and so much activity. It was just a great show of the participation in the city of Gallup. They had bands, they had food trucks, they had the trucks, the cars, the car show, the balloon rides. There's just so much that went on, and it was a good family weekend that happened in the city of Gallup after we went through our a week of floods and disaster and everything else. People still came out, and the best thing I liked about it was the smiles. I never seen so many smiles, from little kids to adults to myself. The smiles were all worth it. So thank you, Frank, and all the crew that came out and did this. It was a great success. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Counselor Piano.
All right, so yeah, thank you. To echo what Counselor Garcia said, yeah, I thought this past week it was really great. I was thankful that I got to attend quite a bit of, I think almost every event, hopefully. I want to say that I saw Matt everywhere, and I went everywhere and I kept seeing Matt. So shout out to, and I don't want to miss anyone because I know so many people are involved. So you always get nervous thanking specific people, but I know Matt Robinson was just super involved with all the activities. Natasha was also really involved, and saw her out early on Saturday at Red Rock Park. And then Ben Welch doesn't work for us anymore, but he was out there doing a lot with the balloons too. So just sorry if I missed you. I know a lot of people were involved, but those people I know were doing a lot. And it was just really great. So I enjoyed all the activities, and I want to say that I'm sure that with anything, it probably feels like there's little hiccups, but from a person that just went to enjoy and went down with friends, I didn't really see any hiccups. They all seemed to go really smoothly. And so I wanted to let you guys know that. And then, shout out to Grandpa's Grill, who did the burger bash on the Friday night and fed about 520 balloon pilots and their whole crews. That was a lot of work. And so they did a great job. So I want to shout out them as well. In addition to, there's a few things going on. Yes, so ceremonial activities are starting this Saturday. There's a kickoff for ceremonial this Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the flea market. And they have like a bunch of reveals of different things happening. So I saw a flyer about that. And then in addition, there is also a walk with your doc. This is put on by Gallup Community Health. It's a 5K. It's just a walk, and it's from 9 a.m. and it's at Sports Complex. It's free, and it's just a way to like get to know your. It's a lot of like local doctors in town, so I encourage people to come out and walk with your doc. And I thought that was so cute. So I'm going to be there and just come out with the family. It's really just easy going. I'm so encouraged. That's again this weekend at Sports Complex, starting at 9 and registration's at 7:30. And then this weekend is also tax-free weekend. So in case any of you forgot, it's tax-free weekend. So if you want to go crazy on your shopping, this is the weekend to do it. It's tax-free. I'm sure I missed something, but a lot going on in the community. And again, with this past weekend, when I was out, I saw so many people out, and I went back to see the band in the evening, and there was tons of people there. So I just was so thankful. And people seemed really thankful to have lots of things going on in our own community, not having to leave. They were here, they could stay here. And I think that's a great thing, that we're a great service that we're providing for our community, that we're continually having activities and things that people can come to, and they don't have to leave. They don't have to go to Albuquerque, they can stay here and bring their friends here. So I really appreciate those efforts. And then I think that's it, but I just want to also do like a plug, because I haven't done one in a while, and I saw a lot of the departments today at our meet and greet, and appreciate Keegan and her efforts and all the departments that were there. I know it's a lot of work for the departments to come after they've worked a long day, but all the departments were there. But because I have a soft spot for animals, I went to their booth and I saw the animals, and I'm like, everybody adopt animals. That's my last plug. Or tell all your friends, because they do have quite a bit of animals that are there. And I don't know, my husband won't let me adopt anymore. I have two and we don't have a big enough land space. So I think in Mossman, there's like a limit. So, but I guess that's that. So just so you know, if you're looking at your friends, the shopped, adopt, don't shop, because there's some great animals at our local animal shelter. All right, that's it.
Thank you, Council Piano. Councilor Asamoah, who do you have?
Thank you. Yeah, so I just want to send my well wishes out to everybody recovering from the floods. It definitely was a scary event. It's scary to see, you know, the videos and vehicles, especially our neighbors down in Zuni. And I know there'll be recovery efforts there for a long time. So encourage people as much as possible to support friends and family down in Zuni. And please do continue to reach out to me if you're in my district, you know, if you have damage in your homes, and we want to know where these are. And as we get a system up to track and to get out to assess, I think I think we're definitely going to meet that threshold. And so, and thank you to the water department as well for everything that you guys have been doing, especially all those PSAs. Mr. Yaza, those are always helpful. I know you guys have had a lot of work lately. Thank you for being here tonight as well, and to share about the rate study that was done. I am really grateful to have had a successful constituent meeting last night. In the west side of my district is mostly mobile home parks, and we hosted a Know Your Rights session with an attorney from the Center on Law and Poverty, came out from Albuquerque and did that session. We had really good turnout, and just encouraging to kind of get neighbors together and talking to each other about what are the concerns that they have for their communities. I will additionally be hosting another community meeting in my district on Thursday, August 13th at 6 p.m. at Indian Hills Elementary School gym. So we've just kind of solidified that and wanted to put it out early and let people know anyone on the east side there is welcome to come out, and we'll talk about some of the things in our community. Looking ahead again to events before our next meeting, which I think is August 11.
Yes.
I wanted to invite everyone to come out to an open house for the Hojo Center for Personal Enhancement and the Recovery Home. They have a new office here on West Cole, 233 West Cole. That is been open during the day for walk-in support. They are doing talking circles. They're doing peer-based recovery support. And then they have their peer-led recovery home up in Gamarco. So I know this is right during all the events of ceremonial, but hopefully people can come see this as well. August 7th, 10 to 12 will be the Cole Avenue office open house. And then 1 to 3 in the afternoon will be the recovery home open house in Gamarco. If you haven't been out there, they did just complete a new Hogan for ceremonial support of the residents out there. And that's kind of part of in my other work life as a professional. I'm doing some work with them. So that's why I wanted to extend the invitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Molina.
Thank you, Mort. I did speak earlier earlier this week to Chief Parrott, having him pass down the information to his guys. We appreciate the hard work they did, the hours, the danger. This evening, I had the opportunity to approach Chief Pablo to pass that same information down. However, I have not had the opportunity to speak to the other directors to pass the same information down. So all you directors, please disseminate that information down. We really appreciate all the employees, all the work they did during the flooding period, the danger, the frustration, the work. So when I say thank you to all the hardworking employees, like I do every week, there's a lot more this week. So keep it up. Thank you. Appreciate it. To all our citizens out there in Gallup, ClickFix. ClickFix. That's the part on the city's website where you can go to report all your problems with flooding, all that. I've got a few of my constituents that called me and I'll put those in there. But anybody that needs some help with it, in my district, call me. And, also, neighborhood meetings, Metmore. We're having a very important meeting in Metmore on August 10th. We're going to discuss the railroad crossing. Very important meeting. We're also going to discuss some infringements on some of the back fences there in Gallup. Very important meeting. That's on August 10th. On August 12th, we'll have a meeting in Stagecoach for the Stagecoach people. And also on the 13th, we'll have a separate neighborhood meeting for the people in Chihuahua. Anybody have any questions? Give me a call. Again, thank you to all the city employees for everything you do. I'm going home.
Thank you, Councilor Lino. Now we'll have comments by City Manager Frank Gepetti.
Thank you, sir. Very fortunate this morning to go out and meet with the Patriot flag that was coming through Gallup. They came in yesterday to the Veterans Center. Handed it off. We took it to Window Rock to hand it off to the Navajo Hopi Honor Riders. Got to meet with their organizers. They usually went through a local club here in Gallup. That club said they're not doing it this year. So we scrambled and didn't have the best showing. But I told them next year, gave them our card and said, you know, we want to be bigger, better next year. And be happy to. And speaking of bigger, better, the great race named Gallup as the best lunch stop on the route. So that shows how good our groups can do. We also impress some people that are hard to impress. Farm Truck and Asian were here for our Route 66 rides. A lot of people didn't know who Farm Truck and Asian are, but you could tell a lot of people in Gallup follow them. They were down there checking out the truck, getting merchandise, getting autographs and signed. They said they've never been to any type of event like this, and it was great to see. I want to expand on people thanking. ExxonMobil was our premier sponsor. I have to do a big shout out to ExxonMobil. Gallup Propane. They were our fuel sponsor, donated all the fuel. Those two were just one of the biggest sponsors. Jerry's Cafe sponsored our trophies for the car show. Wonderful metal, cut metal, Route 66 signs said Gallup, New Mexico. Wonderful. As we said, Grandpa's Grill did all the cooking. Pilots, crews, classic car people, bikes, all of them that were there. And then we had a big team that put this on. This wasn't a small group. This was a big team. Vince and Jake with the parks coming at weekly to the meetings. Captain Collins helping with and Chief Parrott putting our incident command center and our OEM plans together for the safety. Matt Robinson, couldn't have done it without him. Bill No and Bill Yes with the balloons. Gallup Chamber. Ted Gonzalez doing the classic cars. Really like to thank my daughter. She put together the s'mores.
Oh, yeah.
Only place in the US so far that is doing s'mores in a balloon burner.
Yeah, that's cute.
That was cool. Kids loved it. Have to do a special thanks to all the launch directors. Great group of launch directors. That come out for the safety of the balloons every year. Ben Welch limping along, doing the best he could. Hope he has a good recovery on that. Mr. Eubanks and his security company keeping everybody safe. It was just streets department, parks department, all the departments blocking off downtown. It was great. Couple on this more sad note. August 2nd at 10 a.m. at Raleigh's will be the funeral for George Suhu. Longtime Gallup resident, matter of fact, I believe, second generation. Him and his family, with the motel business, laundromats and Avalon,
Yeah.
definitely. Fellow Aggie. I didn't know that till reading his obituary, fellow Aggie, so, okay. CPA, just was a great businessman, so those that would like to pay the respects. And then on a big note, real personal also, former city manager, longtime family friend, Paul McCollum passed away today.
Oh, he did.
And just a great man, good family. Related in marriage to the Murphys and others here in town. So just a long time Galupian and insurance. Not insurance, real estate. Just a great family. So as I hear of his services, I will get that out. And since we don't have a newspaper, folks, if you will email me when you hear about these type of things, this is one way we can at least share without the newspaper of how to pay our respects. I know a lot of us subscribe to the newspaper for the sole purpose of obituaries. It's the only way we can keep up, unfortunately. And without the paper now, I would be happy to pass that along each meeting on these type. I know I'm missing a lot, but just the ones I know of, I'll be happy to share. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Frank Petty, City Manager. Appreciate it. All your help you've always done for all of us. It's amazing the work Frank does to put these events together. Route 66 was probably one of the best events ever, according to a lot of people in Gallup. And when you have, only in Gallup would you have blazing balloon fires and the cars underneath them. So, or not the fires, but the burners. Anyway, with that, thank you very much. And
One last thing.
yeah, sure.
I would like to really recognize Gallup Fire. We had lightning hit a building downtown, a beautiful store. Their quick response. Without a quick response, we could have lost half of a block or more with our old structures and buildings. To only lose the second floor to fire and smoke damage just shows how good the training, response, and dedication our fire department has. So, Chief, thank you, sir, for working with your women and men. I won't just say men. They were all down there giving it all. And in the middle of it, it was the flood. So you had some people out there wading through water, rescuing people from cars. While others were fighting a fire. So all hands on deck type day and great dedication.
All right, with that, thank you, Frank. Have a motion to adjourn.
Counselor Molina,
Yes.
Counselor Garcia, Counselor Piano,
Yes.
Counselor Yazzie,
Yes.
Mayor DePauli.
Yes.
Before everyone leaves, if you'll sign